I thought it was just a stubborn cough, the kind that lingers for weeks and fades, then comes back again. I told myself I was fine. Maybe tired. Maybe overworked. I'd pushed through worse. But my body had been whispering for days, and I didn't understand the language yet. One morning, I woke to a strange tingling in my feet and hands, a subtle buzz beneath the skin. I shook it off. Everyone feels weird sometimes, right? By the next day, everything changed. I opened my eyes and my mouth felt numb. My tongue tingled, my face heavy, and the numbness crept upward like a slow, rising tide. I tried to smile. Nothing moved. That was the moment my body began to fall silent. Loss doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it tiptoes in wearing the costume of minor inconvenience. The first doctor said, "It spells palsy." Hours later in A&E, another suspected a stroke. But something didn't add up, the tingling, the symmetry, the way my strength vanished evenly on both sides. Finally, a third doctor looked at me and said softly, "This is Guillain-Barré Syndrome. You can recover fully, but it will be a long recovery." I remember staring at the ceiling lights, the sterile air thick around me. Within hours, I had gone from sitting upright to lying flat. I couldn't lift my head. I couldn't hold a cup of water. I couldn't even get to the toilet on my own. My body, once so dependable, had disconnected from command. Guillain-Barré works like a communication blackout. The brain keeps sending signals, but they never arrive. They're not broken. They're interrupted, jammed in transit. And that distinction matters. Because an interrupted signal still exists. It just can't find its way through. And in those silent hours, it felt like living inside a body where the lights were on. But every message was trapped mid-sentence. The shock lasted 2 days. Not panic, not denial, just a surreal blankness where my thoughts couldn't catch up with what was happening. The doctors kept repeating both warnings and reassurance. Your breathing may weaken. You could need intubation. But your ankles can still flex, that's good. You can recover fully, though it will take time. Hope and fear sat side by side, and I floated somewhere between them. My mind felt detached, like it had stepped outside my body to watch from a safer distance. If you watched this from outside, you'd see someone lying still. You wouldn't see the internal riot, the mind trying every command, over and over, like pressing a doorbell to a house with no power. By the end of day 2, my breathing did weaken. Phlegm began pooling in my lungs, and each attempt to cough was shallow and ineffective. To prevent aspiration pneumonia, the therapist had to clear my lungs twice daily, a suction tube down the throat, mechanical yet life-saving. Needles punctured both arms for blood draws, for drips, plasma treatments. Every sting was oddly reassuring, proof that sensation still existed somewhere. Then came the feeding tube, the NGT. "Breathe through your mouth," the ENT doctor said. I did, and even though he had sprayed tons of local anesthesia, I still felt the tube scrape through my throat as I kept thinking, I'm being mummified. There's a strange dignity in surrender, not giving up, but accepting help from the body's enemies. Tubes, machines, strangers' hands. There's a specific kind of vulnerability in needing someone else's hands to keep you alive. Not the vulnerability of injury, the vulnerability of infrastructure. You become a system requiring maintenance. People imagine shock as screaming or panic. But real shock is silence. It's when the body numbs itself, so the mind doesn't shatter. Shock isn't numbness, it's the psyche protecting what matters most by putting everything else on hold. For 2 days, I lived in that stillness, hearing the monitors, the footsteps, the quiet voices, yet feeling far away, as though I'd stepped out of my own skin. My body had taken over the only way it knew how, by freezing, by saying, I'll hold this for you until you're ready. Shock is the body's airbag. It deploys automatically, cushioning impact, buying time. But airbags aren't comfortable, they're just better than the alternative. Later, I learned that Guillain-Barré isn't just a medical event, it's the immune system turning inward, confused, attacking its own nerves. But maybe it was also symbolic. Years of pushing through exhaustion, finally forcing stillness. The paralysis was more than betrayal. It was a signal, a cry for help. The body had broken down completely, forcing us to stop everything in our tracks, to put our lives on hold. Even in the worst moments, tiny mercies remained. My ankles still flexed, and that meant the connection wasn't completely lost. Recovery isn't reconnection, it's renegotiation. The body and mind learning a new language together. Shock carried me through those first 48 hours. It kept me calm when fear might have destroyed me. But healing would require thawing that stillness, learning to trust my body again, to feel the breath return, to hear the quiet messages beneath the pain. When your body stops talking to you, it isn't punishing you, it's protecting you. And the first stage of recovery is not movement, it's listening. Then one morning, something shifted. The fog began to lift, and reality finally caught up. That's when I entered stage 2, when reality hits, finding your way through overwhelm.